The following presentation is about technology integration using the SAMR model as a guide. Most of today's classrooms and educational environments have technology integration, that is, the use of technology within it. But what is purposeful technology integration? As you reflect on that definition, think about what you want your students to do with technology in your classroom. Think about what you want to do with technology in your classroom. And think about this big statement. Technology is a tool, not the outcome. Think about the why and not the how. If you answered, I want my students to create an iMovie, why do you want them to create an iMovie? What is the outcome for that project? Is it to communicate a position, build capacity in others, or maybe begin conversations? iMovie would be the tool or the technology. The why is the outcome. One guideline for helping us create and identify those outcomes was developed by Dr. Ruben Putendur, founder of the consulting firm Hippasus. This firm's drive is to transform education through essentially purposeful technology use and evaluation. The guideline model Dr. Putendur created is named SAMR, which stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. Substitution is defined as the point where technology acts as a direct tool substitute with no functional change. Think about a class textbook that is now in digital format. Students are still reading the textbook in the same manner, so there's no functional change from reading it in book form. Augmentation is when technology acts as a direct tool substitute with some functional improvements. Take that same digital textbook and now add hyperlinks and pictures. The functionality is improved through expansion. Modification is when the technology allows for significant redesign. In a digital textbook with hyperlinks and pictures, add movies, email addresses to authors and subject matter experts, and interactive features such as assessments and quests. Redefinition is when the technology allows for creation of a brand new task or project that was previously inconceivable. Imagine that same textbook now as a wiki space, where students, teachers, professionals, and the community all contribute toward the content. It is now a curated piece with authentic and fluid information that is completely redefined from that original digital pre-written textbook. Let's look at the SAMR model in a different way, using something we are all familiar with, an ordinary cup of coffee. We are starting with a black cup of coffee in a cup made at home. If you went to Starbucks and purchased a black coffee there, you are simply substituting that coffee for a brand name and served in a famous paper cup. No functionality has really improved. Add some steamed milk and syrup to that Starbucks coffee or espresso, and with that latte you have augmentation. Functionality or taste is improved, but it is still a direct substitute. If you were to then add some seasonal flavorings, only available in certain months, some whipped cream and spices on top, that original coffee is greatly modified into a pumpkin spice latte. The functionality or taste is greatly improved, and you can only get it certain times in the year, and it is very different than that original cup of coffee at home. Finally, if you add ice, cream, chocolate syrup, whipped cream, and toasted coconut, you have completely transformed that hot black cup of joe into a s'mores frappuccino, something entirely different and somewhat inconceivable from the home coffee experience. Take a look at this social studies or geography example for a travel presentation task. If students had the task of presenting on a location of their choice, doing a PowerPoint presentation instead of a trifold display board poster is a direct substitution. If the student adds hyperlinks and visuals to the presentation, there is improved functionality and augmentation. If the student designs an interactive travel brochure that includes video and audio, there is a significant functionality improvement in the modified project. And finally, if the student uses Google Tour Builder and creates a travel story with slideshows, interviews with community members and tourists, and analytics from the social networking and web rating services, the project has been massively redefined. Let's connect the SAMR model and Bloom's taxonomy terms. Lower order thinking skills, remembering, understanding, and applying, are on the substitution and augmentation end of the guide. On the other end, there are higher order thinking skills with analyzing, evaluating, and creating in modification and redefinition. As you are thinking about your purposeful technology integration in your planning and considering the SAMR model, remember that it is a guideline for use, that there can be different interpretations and lots of gray areas. It may help to use it as a growth model for your technology use as you evolve in the quantity and quality of technology integration. Additionally, consider that the goal is not constant redefinition of every task. That would be exhausting and maybe even counterproductive. Education expert Carl Hooker posts the SAMR swimming pool graphic, explaining that substitution is in the kiddie pool, or on the steps going in. Augmentation is in the shallow end where you can still stand. Modification is in the deep end where you can stay afloat and swim without support. And finally, redefinition is on the high dive. It would be extremely tiring to spend your entire time at the pool on the high dive. Another great point Carl makes in this infographic is that it is important to take breaks from the pool, like rest periods. Don't pressure yourself to include technology all the time, just for the sake of including it. The point behind purposeful tech integration is ensuring it is applicable and meaningful to the learning outcome.